On Halloween, a murderous clown called Art the Clown terrorizes a small county by killing 9 people before he's shot down and transported to the morgue. There, the coroner starts his thorough examination of the clown's body, but is horrified to realize that Art is very much alive. Before he can register this fact, Art brutally attacks the coroner, chases him around the office, and brutally murders him. Art then goes to a local laundromat to clean his clothes and wash off the blood. There, while washing his clothes, he meets another young, scary clown girl and starts to play with her, to the confusion of the laundromat's guard, to whom the young clown girl is invisible. Then, Art brutally murders the guard, who tries to find out what's going on and leaves after putting on his clean clown clothes back. A year later, on Halloween, a high school senior named Sienna finishes sewing up her Halloween costume, which she's been working on for 3 months, before joining her mother Barbara and her younger brother Jonathan for dinner. After dinner, Sienna shares her concern about Jonathan, who has opted to dress as Art the Clown for Halloween, and his recent obsession with serial killers, but Barbara dismisses her, citing that it was just a phase. Sienna returns to her room, stays up late working on her costume, and retires to bed. In her dreams, Sienna sees a TV set called Clown Cafe, filled with a lively audience and a vibrant host who invites Art to join them. After a few minutes of fun and entertainment, Art goes around the set, shooting everyone and everything. Sienna survives the bullets, and as he approaches to finish her off, she manages to fight him off with a sword that her late father had given her. Art then attempts to torch Sienna with a flamethrower and sets the whole set on fire. Minutes later, Sienna wakes up and is shocked to see that her dresser has caught on fire and her room is burning up. Confused, she runs to her mother, who immediately manages to put it out and proceeds to scold Sienna for her irresponsibility in forgetting to turn out the candles before going to bed. In the aftermath, Sienna, who is still utterly confused about how the fire in her dreams manifested into real life, goes to her room to check on her stuff and is pleasantly surprised to find the sword unaffected by the fire, while her costume and everything else on her dresser has already burned to ashes. The next morning, Sienna and Jonathan prepare for school and leave while on the other side of the county. Art and the little girl watch the interview of the only survivor of the massacre from last year, named Victoria Hayes. At school, Jonathan sits for an exam, but is preoccupied by the dead animal he saw outside of school earlier that morning. He then asks to be excused and goes to the bathroom, but is stopped short in the hallways when he sees Art and the little clown girl playing with the internal organs of the dead animal. Jonathan is shocked into running back to his class, but is unfortunately caught by the principal, who surmises that he must have been the one who brought the bloody animal to school. On the other side of the school, Sienna meets up with her best friends Allie and Brooke, who inform her that the famous talk show host, Monica Brown, has been gravely attacked and mutilated by her guest, Victoria Hayes, and is admitted to the hospital. Sienna then shakes off her shock and tries to carry on as usual. Meanwhile, Jonathan is escorted to his house by a police officer who narrates the situation to the angry Barbara. Later that day, Sienna goes to a local Halloween costume store to replace the items she lost in the fire with Amy. There, she encounters Art, who freaks her out by silently following her around. As Sienna pays, Art continues to obnoxiously attract attention to himself and approaches her in hopes of scaring her until he's admonished by the store owner, who thinks he is just a regular man with a clown costume. Once Sienna leaves, Art closes off the store and brutally murders the owner. Later, Sienna confides in Allie about her dream, explains what happened in the store, and tells her that she had just encountered Art the Clown. But Allie tries to calm down her friend and tells her that there's no way it could be him, as he has been dead for a year. In the evening, Sienna returns home, and while talking to Jonathan, she learns that their late father had kept a sketchbook filled with information about Art the Clown and the many different people he murdered, including his first murder of a young local girl. The siblings go through the sketchbook and discover the many cryptic drawings, including of a girl dressed in the same attire as Sienna's Halloween costume, and wonder what it all means. Jonathan then confides in Sienna that he saw Art the Clown at his school that day and asks her to cancel all her Halloween plans for later that night and stay home, as he fears something bad is going to happen. Despite her own reservations, Sienna calms her little brother down and proceeds to prepare to go out. Meanwhile, at Allie's house, Allie spends the afternoon giving candy out to local kids. Then she's disturbed by Art the Clown, who comes asking for candy, and after some hesitation, she gives him candy and watches him leave before preparing to go out. At her house, Sienna dresses up in her Halloween costume and prepares to go out and meet with Allie and Brooke, despite her mother's reservations about the revealingness of her attire. At Allie's house, Allie hears a sudden noise and is terrified to see that the glass kitchen doors have been broken into by Art the Clown, whom she finds casually walking around her house. Before she can react, Art chases her to her bedroom and, despite her intense resistance, brutally dismembers her. Alive, Allie's mother comes home from work and is utterly devastated to see her daughter in such a state and screams on top of her lungs before being brutally attacked. Elsewhere, Sienna and Brooke go out partying at a club while waiting to hear from Allie. They take a couple of shots to loosen up and are joined by Brooke's boyfriend, Jeff. While back at Sienna's house, Barbara and Jonathan get in a fight over the young boy's obsession with his father's sketches and Art the Clown. Barbara tears out the sketchbook, informing her son that his father was sick and that none of the things he drew made any sense before slapping him for angrily talking back to her. Jonathan runs out of the house in protest, while Barbara calls after him. At the bar, Brooke and Sienna continue having fun, and Brooke informs her friend that she spiked her drink to loosen up. Elsewhere, Jonathan sees a mysterious black van parked outside his house, approaches it, and is terrified to see a little clown girl with glowing eyes. A few hours into the party, Sienna receives a call from her frustrated mother, informing her that Jonathan has vandalized her car with tissue paper, pumpkins, and expletives written all over. Sienna calms down her mother, who continues cleaning the car, before being brutally murdered by Art the Clown, who had been hiding in the car. Meanwhile, after seeing the scary clown, a scared Jonathan rushes home to tell his mother what he'd seen, but is devastated to find her dead and posed at their dining table. Before he can process this terrifying turn of events, he is chased around the house by the monstrous clown, who manages to catch him and injects him with a sedative. Elsewhere at the Halloween party, Sienna freaks out and screams bloody murder after seeing the young clown girl, who seems to invisibly walk around the party, disappearing every few moments. Brooke calms Sienna down, and together with Jeff, helps her out of the club. The trio proceeds to head to Sienna's house upon her request, while Brooke and Sienna fight over Sienna's recent behaviors. Moments into the drive, Sienna receives a car from Jonathan's number and is asked to meet him at a local abandoned carnival by the young clown girl, who manages to imitate Jonathan's voice. Jeff drives the group to the carnival, and after a fight with Brooke, Sienna storms out of the car to look for her little brother, while Brooke stays back in the car, excusing her friend's behavior to Jeff and explaining that Sienna hasn't been the same since her father, who had suffered from a brain tumor that caused him vivid hallucinations, took his life by crashing drunk into a transformer and burning to death. Outside the car, Sienna calls Jonathan frantically to no avail and instead receives a text that directs her to go to a carnival ride named the Terrifier. Meanwhile, Jonathan wakes up and finds himself in a mysterious room full of creepy dolls guarded by the young clown girl, who spends time by a dressing table, operating on her own face, and runs out in terror. Inside the car, Jeff and Brooke take more drugs and fool around a bit before Jeff goes out for some fresh air, while Brooke continues calling Sienna, hoping to make sure she's all right. Moments later, Brooke watches in utter horror as Art the Clown sneaks up on Jeff to neutralize him. He then gruesomely beats and stabs him before leaving him to bleed out. Brooke tries to calm her nerves and start the car so that she can drive away to safety. However, Art the Clown moves swiftly and gets to her. He breaks the car window and pulls her out before stabbing her. Brooke ignores her pain, summons her courage to kick Art the Clown away, and runs away into the compound of the abandoned carnival while calling out Sienna, who is also running through the carnival looking for Jonathan. Unfortunately, Art the Clown corners Brooke, and before she can take any action, he burns her face with acid and renders her incapable. He then gruesomely kills and dismembers the high school senior before removing her organs one by one. Moments later, Sienna arrives at Brooke's murder site and is flabbergasted by the grisly scene. As she screams and cries in agony for the life of her friend, she notices that Art the Clown is standing in the corner, observing her. Jonathan then runs into the scene, but freezes in shock from all the blood splattered everywhere. In order to save her brother, Sienna attacks Art while screaming for Jonathan to run. Art fights with Sienna and manages to neutralize her in no time before going on the hunt for the young boy. Art chases Jonathan around the creaky, abandoned quarters of the old carnival, catches him, and although superficially, attacks him with a knife. As Art proceeds to stab Jonathan, Sienna sneaks up on him and knocks him out momentarily. As the siblings run away, Jonathan tells Sienna that she must really be the girl that their father sketched about, and argues that there must be a reason that Art used him to get her to the carnival, surmising that she may be the only one able to kill him once and for all. Art the Clown comes chasing, and the siblings square off with the seemingly cruel, mysterious being one more time. An intense fight ensues between the clown and the siblings, who manage to shoot him and hit him in the head before realizing that he may be immortal. Art knocks out Sienna, who hallucinates about seeing her mother, before realizing what happened to Barbara and that Art was disguising himself as her. As the fight continues, Art gains the upper hand, fatally stabs Sienna with the special sword her father gave her, and throws her into an underground hole while taking the unconscious body of Jonathan away, hoping to torture him. Sienna finds herself on the set of The Clown Cafe, drowning in a container full of water, until the sword comes to life and heals her stab wounds, helping her to float out of the container easily. Sienna then takes the sword and rushes to her brother's side, just in time before Art seriously injures him. She then fiercely fights with the cruel clown before successfully decapitating him. The siblings reunite, and as they embrace each other in utter happiness and relief, the little clown girl comes in, takes Art's severed head, and slowly walks away with her eyes glowing. Sometime later, on Halloween, at the local psychiatric hospital where Victoria is institutionalized, mysterious sounds are heard from Victoria's room as she gives birth to Art the Clown's head and uses the blood to write obscenities and her and Art's name on the wall. Her attending nurse goes to check on her and screams in utter terror as she sees the patient's eyes lighting up while she cradles the clown's head. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed the video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.